So today, so today I thought I'm gonna do a sit-down video because I wanted to share an experience of mine. This year on on 9th March 2026, I got my Belgian driver's license. So now I can actually drive an automatic car, and it was one hell of a traumatic experience. And I thought I'll share my experience. What did I do, and what worked for me? And if someone who is in the same boat as mine, maybe this video will also help them what they can do better, or something they can take it from my own experience. So without me wasting much time, let's get started. So first thing is that you have to give a theory exam. So my theory exam I gave was on 3rd January 2025. So basically last year. And let me tell you, the theory is also not very simple. You have 50 questions, and then you have to score at least 41 out of 50. And then there's also negative marking, -1 for each incorrect answer. So, and also not just -1, there are 5 questions which you have no idea out of 50 which ones are those, and those questions weigh almost like 5 points. So if you mark any incorrect answer amongst those 5, then you get -5 directly. So you have to literally prepare a lot. So what I did was I first took the exam date, which you can do it online based on where you live. I'm going to tell you my experience in Flanders. What I'm going to share is something which is still relevant to Flanders, but look at the website if they have changed anything recently. So I opted for my exam date in Alken, which is in Limburg. I live in a small town in Limburg, and the nearest centers are basically Alken or Bray. So I chose Alken to go for the exam. And then while submitting your application, you also mentioned that you need English interpreter. So that means if you do not speak Dutch, French, if you do not speak Dutch in Flanders, then you can ask for a translator. But that translator is just a audio translation. So basically, on the exam date, you go to the receptionist and say, I also need it in English or whatever language other than Dutch. And then you will get an audio headphones. So basically, after every question, every question, there will be audio translation first in Dutch and then in English. So you should have a very good listening capability, because it is slow and it's robotic. It's automated, generated. So it's not very accurate, I would say. I remember during my theory exam, there was one option. There were the 4 options, and then the English interpreter said null to one of the options. So it can happen. I just want to remind you that. So how did I practice? So first I took the exam date, and I gave myself 2 weeks. So basically I selected a date which is like 2 weeks after. So I had 2 weeks of window to prepare. I don't want to prepare like for a month, because there's a lot of theoretical questions which you might forget. So basically, depending on your capability, you choose 1 week or 2 weeks, maximum 2 or 3 weeks, I think. But I chose 2 weeks because the next week I had complete off. It was December, so we had a Christmas holiday, and I have like enough time to prepare during that holiday session. So, okay. There are 2 websites which were very useful. One is a website, I'm going to put it somewhere here or in the description as well. The first website is free. You can register on a website, they give you a code, and you can access that website for like 7 days or 10 days, I don't remember now. But then you get access to all the theoretical questions. So I would suggest you to go through all the theory lessons, and then they also have mock questions, so you practice that. And the second website, there's another website that I googled, and I also practiced there, which I felt is much closer to the mock. The mock questions are much closer to the exam, to the real exam. So I'll also share that link. And the benefit is that the second website also has a timer of like 30 seconds or 1 minute, I do not remember, but that's exactly, I'm saying you practice with the timer, and if possible also with the audio, because there is a possibility that you might get zoned out in the between those Dutch to English audio thing that is happening, which happened with me. But it is difficult, so give enough, and it's your luck. Like, the questions are not the same all the time, so you might get some tricky questions, or you might get the easiest question and you might just pass. So after practicing mostly from those 2 websites, I scored 41 out of 50. So basically I cleared the exam, and I don't care if I was just passed or I got 48. So I just cleared the exam and I was happy about it. Okay, so after clearing theory, you can now apply for your provisional license. So there are different rules, I think. One is M36. So basically here you get a provisional license for 36 months, and you also have to register a supervisor. So you can't drive alone, but you always have someone to drive with. So that clearly was not an option for me. I don't know someone who can spend that much time with me, and I do not know anyone here. So the second option was to get M18 provisional license. So that means you will get a license for 18 months where you can drive alone, all by yourself, but there are restrictions like over a weekend or some public holiday, you can't drive from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So look onto the website. This is still valid, but otherwise you can drive by yourself. But you have to do 20 hours of lessons from a driving school. So that was the option that I was looking for. So I registered myself to that school, which is closer to my home, and I started my driver's lessons in somewhere in like mid of February, around 19th or 20th. I do not remember now. My instructor, I would say, was okay. He was not someone who was very good in English, and I couldn't basically afford to go to any other driving school because I work full time and I do not want to waste a lot of time in commuting. So I actually just went forward with that school. And meanwhile, I also started looking for second-hand car around my area, and I found something which I thought I can drive alone because I wanted to have a car which I feel I'm comfortable driving in, because I have to I have to do it all by myself. So better I find a car which I feel like I can handle it. So I got a small car. It's Fiat 500, and when I did a test drive, I felt like, oh, this is something I can drive. But let me tell you, I didn't have like a lot of options in my budget. My budget was around like 15,000 euros, and I didn't want to take any loan or lease. I'm done with EMIs in my life. So I did not wanted to spend a lot of amount in something that I wasn't even sure like how much time it will take for me to get a license. So I found a car, and I thought, let's just book that. Probably it's not, I wouldn't say it's like one of the wisest decision, but I think something felt right at that moment, and I do not regret it. So my Fiat has been like my first ever car in my life, and I'm happy about it. So after 20-hour lessons once done, then you apply to the commune, and I got my license in a week, and then after a month I got my car. So now the real journey begins. So after 20 hour, you have like a locking period of 5 months. You have to wait for 5 months until you can apply for the exam. And please check on the website what are the latest rules in Flanders. This is what it was when I did last year. But I also read somewhere in between there's I think you can also do 30-hour lesson in the driving school, and you don't have any waiting period, and you can just apply for the exam right after your 30 hours. So please have a look. So in case you do not want to buy a car, I think I'll say go for a 30-hour lesson. There are also other approach that people do is they don't buy a car, which is actually wisest decision if you have your friend's car or you live in a bigger city where they have those cambios for learners and you can practice in those cars, which is definitely not here where I live. I live in a small town, so there's no cambio like that, so I have to get the car. So after getting the car, I started practicing. I started like it was, I had a window of 5 months, so I was not panicking, but I started getting used to driving in the roads. And then I used to take my car to the office, which is like 7 kilometers from my home. It's not much, but I just wanted to get better at my steering. And then there's a parking place here in where I live where the learners can practice. It's like a very big parking spot, and for learners it has some I don't know what you call it, like a barricades. You can put it between two parking places and then I'll put the pictures here, try to park. So it's actually something that municipality has already provided, and it's very quiet, nobody's disturbing you. So I used to practice a lot of my maneuvers, like reverse parking, forward parking, S parking over there. And then in the meanwhile, I started looking for a school which can teach me those. After my 5 month no, so after my 20-hour lesson, I was thinking about where I should now apply for my practical exam, either in Aalken or Bray, which are like two exam centers where I live. And I heard that Aalken, where I gave my theory exam, the exam route is tricky, plus the passing rate is also less. That's what I heard. I don't know how true it is. So I thought I'll choose Bray, the other exam center, which is like another 25 kilometers from my home. But mind you, my instructor during 20-hour lesson, he never ever took me to the any of these exam centers and never took any lessons in those areas. So I was clueless. I didn't know what to expect. Or sometimes when you are taking lessons, your instructor will also tell you the points that the examiner is looking for. So I had nothing being taught. All those things were not taught to me during my 20-hour. So while I was waiting for my 5 months to get over, I also started inquiring schools in Bray, driving schools in Bray, to opt for some extra lessons and the exam date. Now, you have two choices. You can apply for exam dates on your own and go with your own car, and do your exam. But the catch is, then the exam date, it's very difficult to get an exam date as per your expectation. You have to get it, you have to actually look onto the website every other day. Otherwise, the next available spot is like 3 months from now. So every time I would say, if you want to do it all by yourself, try to check on the website regularly during the evening, because sometimes the place or the spot is open and you can apply for it. And then you can take your car and read the rules, what is needed if you want to go on your own with your car. Now again, in practical, again, if you don't speak the language, you have to bring your own interpreter. So basically now you have to find someone who can come with you on the exam date, and he is also going to sit in your car along with the examiner. So all the instructions by the examiner will be in Dutch, and the interpreter will be interpreting it in to your preferred language. So in my case, it's English. Then I've also heard, if you do your exams by yourself, then I'm not sure how true it is, but it's like people say they're very strict, and then your car should also be clean. You should also have your auto curing, the inspection certificate with you. All those, there are extra headaches on top of your exam. So which I thought it's better to go for exam via a driving school. And also, let me tell you, driving schools, they have some good bond with the examiner. I don't know, they have some like I don't know, the driving school, the examiner, they know each other or something like that. But it's not always the case. But if you are going with the driving school, you don't have to worry about all those inspection certificate, all your documents, and the car you are driving. Like you don't know, your examiner might get frustrated because you have a small car, or your car is smelling, or I don't know, those things. So I don't wanted to deal with all those things. Plus, I also wanted to get some driving lessons in the exam area, which I never had in 20-hour lesson. So I opted for another 6-hour lesson. So I found a school in Bray via some Google search, and I found some good reviews. They also have instructors teaching in English. So I thought it's gonna be nice. And I emailed them, and they were very quick in responding. Unlike the first school, everything, I never talked to the owner personally. Every communication I did via was email, and they were very responsive. Everything was clearly mentioned. All my schedules were already scheduled. She used to send me the acknowledgement and all the lessons and everything. Yeah, I had a very good experience with them. I'll put their link in case someone who is looking for a driving school in Bray. I would recommend them any day. So right after, I took my first exam on 1st September 2025. But before that, during that 5 month, I used to go to Bray by myself, and I used to practice all the routes around it. So there's a trick, there is one tip for you if you are interested. In Flanders, if you go to the exam school website, they have mentioned those points where your exam can happen. And so what I used to do is I used to create my own Google Map routes, basically connecting those points and making some route for me. And I used to practice those on Sundays, because Sundays are not, it's not a rush hour. There's hardly anyone in the road if you go early morning. So I used to practice that every Sunday, go to different routes that I used to make via Google Map. So I knew now like which area is trickier, like where are some restrictions. So it's not like a surprise for me during the exam, like what this place is. And then with the driving school, she also took me a lot of routes that I never went. And that's how you know, okay, this is the trickiest place. This is the place like forbidden if you are not a local. There's a road sign which says if you do not enter if you are not a local over here. So there are a lot of signs like that. So you should know or be very observant. And basically everyone who takes driving test, they know more about those exam area than their own place, and that's the right way to go, I would say, because they're very strict about small things if you miss. So she took me those routes, and then I told her that I want to practice parking because that's something I was not very great at, like S parking. And I've never ever heard anyone saying that they didn't get the S parking maneuver during the exam test. So I really wanted to practice the S parking. I told her that I was not looking. I knew that I mean I was okay in driving, but I knew that I was not ready for the exam in a way that your examiner expects. Like you shouldn't do a single priority to the right mistakes. Your maneuver should happen in a smooth way. But I wanted to see. But I wanted to give my first exam because I wanted to see like where I am standing currently and what did I do wrong or what I can improve. And I do not want to like waste done with my first exam so I can improve onto certain things. So on the exam day, now everything my school arranged. I don't know how much. I don't remember. Yeah, everything my school arranged, and then I arranged an interpreter. They gave me few names, and I called them telling this is my exam date and if they're available or not. So my interpreter also came on that day. So before your actual practical exam, you have something called in Flanders. It's called in Flanders. I'm not sure if it happens in Brussels or Wallonia, but it's definitely in Flanders. You have to give your risk perception test. That's a computer test. So basically, you will be shown 6 videos of actual footage of on the road, like you are driving. You will see the steering wheel, the odometer, your rear view mirrors, your side mirrors and rear view mirror and the road. And then again, it's in Dutch. So you have to ask for English. So basically the same thing, you will have the audio in Dutch first and English, and you have to basically mark what risk you see. So for example, there's a cyclist on the road, the car is turning left, or someone is, while you are turning left, there's someone behind your car. So basically you have to look all, like it's basically a simulation video of what you expect on road. So you have to get like 6 correct answers out of, I don't know, there could be many risks, but you have to get like 6 right answers. And again, you have negative -1 if you mark anything that is not a risk. And after the exam, after this risk perception test, you do not also know if you have cleared the exam or you failed it. Now the examiner will have that result of your RPT, and you also when you go to the reception, she will ask you to choose a number between 1 to 11, and then you say any number. Let's say I said 8, and then it's a computer generated algorithm or something, and they will generate some routes that your examiner will make sure that you go through those points. So basically they will generate some points, like route points that they have mentioned on the website, and then your examiner will make a route based on those points. And then based on your RPT result, the exam can be more stricter. In case of like you failed, the examiner will be very observant whether you are looking over your shoulder a lot or not, where how you are like prior to the right, all those things. It's going to be a little bit more stricter as compared to if you have passed. That's what I heard. So basically, after the RPT on my day, so what happened is I chose a number 8 and I got 2 maneuvers. So examiner will, after your RPT, the examiner will come and he will tell you that what maneuvers you have got. So just before even starting your practical, you will know that you have got these 2 maneuvers. So in my case, during my first exam, I got a reverse. First maneuver was to drive your car in a reverse in a straight line for like 20 meters, and then was S parking to the right. And then the exam starts. So basically, even before you start the exam, there's one more thing. They will ask you to open the bonnet of the car, and they will ask you some questions like where is the engine oil, where is the washer fluid, so you should know what's inside your car. They will ask you to run the lights, like okay, show me the the examiner will be outside of the car. You have to put the window down, and they will tell you to switch on your dim light, high beam, fog lights, the wind blower, the froster, all those things. So you should know all the dashboard controls and everything. And once he is satisfied, he will get inside. He will be sitting diagonally to you, and my interpreter is next to me, like behind me, and my school instructor is next to me. So basically, there are 3 people in the car, and then there are 4 people including me in the car. There are 3 other people who are looking on to you. So it's a lot of like there are a lot of eyes onto you, and plus your exam is happening, so you're a little bit nervous. So good luck with that. Good luck with that. So good luck with that. So now in Flanders, they have made it compulsory that you have to follow both Google Map and also the road signs. So now it depends on examiner whether he will start your driving test with the Google Map navigation or his own instruction. So during my first exam, she was a lady, and someone, my interpreter, told me that she's one of the strict examiner. I'm like, what to do now? So she asked me to put on to the location in my car, and she asked me to follow the Google Map route. Now, when I started my driving, my Google Map was telling me to go to the right, and there was no right. So basically, it was actually the auto navigation of the car. It's not like I connected my phone. You can actually connect your phone also. You can also connect Waze, but it was automated car dashboard, and it was giving wrong directions. But I'm very comfortable driving with Google Map because I'm used to it here. So I knew if there's no right, let's just continue, and Google Map will do some rerouting those stuff. So I reached to the destination, and then she started giving me her own instructions, and at some point she told me to do the first maneuver, which was to drive it in a straight line in a reverse for 20 meters. And I started my maneuver, and I realized my car was, instead of a straight line, my car was drifting further. So I thought I'd straighten it up, and while I was straightening it up, I turned my steering too much that it touched the curb. And she said, you touched the curb, so exam is over. So my exam ended in 20 minutes. My exam was ended. She explained me, if you would have stopped like few seconds before touching the curb, you could have done it again. But since I touched the curb, she said, okay, she started giving me instructions to go to the exam route, to the exam center, and I came back like in half an hour. So it was very sad. I felt like I knew I would fail, but I wanted to complete like 45 minutes, the whole exam duration, so I know how I'm doing in the roads, or I wanted to complete both the maneuvers, but those things didn't happen. But the instructor was, I would say, was good. She was giving me instructions way in advance, so my interpreter also has enough time to communicate with me, so I was not feeling pressure. But I think, yeah, I just messed up. It was my own mistake. I wouldn't say that the examiner was not trying to fool me or was not trying to trick me or anything like that. It was all my fault. So basically, I failed, and she explained me that your your driving through Google navigation was good, but your maneuver was bad because you didn't do it properly. And secondly, she told me that while I was doing left turn, I was taking a wide turn, and I was not looking too much over my shoulder. So she wanted me to look over shoulder a lot while turning. Yeah, those things she mentioned. I was actually very sad of the point that I could not complete the whole exam. But the good thing was, after after one day, I had my vacation planned. So I was coming back to India. So I have planned I did some strategic planning. Like, I wanted to give my exam, and then if I failed, I just going back. Like, I was going back to my home for my vacation, so I wouldn't feel so bad living here. I was actually very sad, very sad. I can't tell you. It is very sad when you practiced a lot and then you do those stupid mistakes. So I went back. I came in October, and then I decided to take a break because the weather was turning gray, winters, and I don't know, I just wanted to take a break. And I would suggest, if you have a time, like your license is not getting expired, don't take those impulsive decisions to book second test just in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Take a time, like a month or 2 month, practice enough, improve your weak points before you apply for the next exam. And I know that I don't want to make any impulsive decision because my license still have time until this year, until September. So if I fail the second, so I thought I'll give my second exam somewhere in like after February, because the weather starts improving, and I thought I'll practice more around like Feb time a lot. So again, I contacted the same driving school in Bray, but you have to apply for your exams way in advance, because if you expect, okay, like in a week or so you will get an exam date and your driving lessons as per your schedule, it's a little difficult. So if you know that you have to apply for the exam, you want to take extra lessons, please contact the driving school in time, and then they can provide you with a lot of options, and you can check which date suits you more. So I contacted the school in November, I think in November, or yeah, I think in November. I contacted the school again via email. I told her that I wanted to apply for my second exam, and then and I also applied for extra 4 hour lesson again. Yeah, don't ask me how much money I have spent, because once you decide to take a step in your life to get a driver's license in Belgium, and again you don't have supervisor to drive with you, and you are someone like me who is novice driver who have no experience in driving, I would say please have your money saved somewhere, because you can spend less money in getting lessons done and drive properly and then get through the exam. So I opted for another 4 hour lessons in somewhere in Feb, and I asked her to get me a driver's exam date somewhere in first week of March. So she gave me a date 9th of March, and she scheduled my 4 hour lesson closer to those days. The good thing is they always take 2 hour lesson on your exam day. So basically, if my exam is at 3 p.m., then from 12 to 3 I'll have like 1 to 3 I'll have like 2 hour lesson before my exam. So again, you get some hands-on experience just before your exam. That's actually a good thing. That's how I think every driving school work over here. That's how they schedule their lessons. So basically I was not practicing enough now. I was driving the car, but I was not going to Bray to practice the exam routes, all those things. But in between, I used to drive. Like I used to drive to other places and all those things. I was getting good in controlling my steering and all those things. My maneuvers were getting better. Now came almost like Feb, and then I think the last week of Feb I had my one lesson. So I went to the exam again. I had the same instructor who was there for me for the last driving lesson, so she already know, and she was like, she told me that I'm driving better as compared to my last sessions. She said, but you have to practice your parking, like my S parking. I never used to do S parking, like I don't practice S parking a lot, because where I live, I don't really have to go anywhere where I have to park, like I have to do a parallel parking. So basically, yeah. So she said, come here over a weekend and practice your parking in Bray. So before my exam, like just before my exam, the last 3 days, I was just practicing my parking in Bray, because Brays actually have narrow roads, and it's not like a plain surface. It's always like tilted or something like that. So I thought I'd just practice over there instead of where I usually practice. So I used to go to Bray and then practice almost like 3 days continuously before my exam. Now again, on the exam date, what happened? So again, I came after my 2 hour lesson. We arrived at the exam center. Mind you, my exam was in the afternoon. It was around 3 p.m. and that's the time when your school also leaves. So a lot of 30 speed roads, office hour, most of the people are leaving at that time. And I was very tired, and I was also definitely very tired. So again, you have to go through RPT, risk perception test. And I thought when I came out of my RPT, I thought as if I failed, because I wasn't sure if my brain was not processing the options. I was too tired. I was trying to wake my brain to concentrate on these things, but I thought I might have failed, because I felt like most of the videos have only one risk. So, and you can't do any negative. You can't mark, like if you think that this could be a risk, I would say do not mark it, because you will get -1. So until unless you have not seen in the video, it's better not to mark something which you are not sure about. So that's what I did. So basically, out of 10 questions, I mostly marked only one options in each question. So a question can have multiple risks, but sometimes it's not very clear because of the translation is not very good in English, and sometimes you just miss because there's a lot of confusion, like whether this is a risk or something. It's a little bit confusing. So what I'm saying is, try to mark an answer only if you are sure that this is something you have actually watched. So after my risk perception, I told my instructor I think I have failed my risk, because I wasn't very confident after that exam. And my instructor said, okay, do not think about it, let's just go with the driving exam now. And my examiner came. I think he was a nice guy. I felt he didn't look so strict. I mean, he didn't look that scary. And he asked me again those questions: how do you know your tire is getting worn out? All the lights. And then we started off with the examiner's instructions. So this time my examiner was giving me instructions where to go. So I started following it. And then this time the maneuvers that I got was to do a forward parking, and again S parking, to the right. Yes, this is what I got. So basically, S parking I got in both of my exams. So we started, then we followed, he gave me some instructions to go over some route, and then he also asked me to follow some road signs too. There are some tricky roundabouts. So in advance, you should know if you have to go to the right or the left, because roundabouts, if you want to go to the right, you have to be on the right. If you want to go like a third exit, you have to always be on the left. So there's like a tricky roundabout in Bray, so you should know well in advance. Those things happened, and then we went to a supermarket, which was actually quite busy at that time. But I now know that this means my first maneuver is about to come. So we went to Aldi, I think it was Aldi, and he asked me to do the forward parking. The first attempt I did, it was within the lines, but it was too closer to the car in the left. So he asked me he asked me if you want to correct it. I said yes. So I corrected it, and then he asked me to get out of the car. Let's say if you are going to the supermarket, how you're going to lock your car and how you're going to get out. So they will teach you, these things are being taught in driving school. So you have to lock the car, put it in park mode, and you have to go facing the traffic. So basically, make sure which way you are going and which way the cars are coming, and you have to go facing towards the car and then enter back. That's one exercise they will always ask you. And then after that, he asked me, then we were done with that. We started again my exam. So I'll tell you the routes were like before the exam, we practiced those routes. So I knew now this is a school time, so it changes very quickly from 50 to 30. So you shouldn't, basically you have to make sure your speeds are within the limit. And then my second maneuver was quite simple. He took me to a normal street, and there was no car. There was just one car standing. He asked me to park after that car. So basically, I don't have to do S parking between two cars. There was just one car, and I have to do S parking just beside that. So it was actually quite simple. I think it was just my lucky day. I don't know. So, and I was able to do S parking in one attempt. My car was perfectly parked, and I couldn't believe myself. And while I was parking, there were cars waiting beside, but I was not nervous at that moment, and my parking was done. And now he asked me to put a navigation on the car navigation module. He asked me to put the exam center route. So now I knew, like, I'm finally done with exams. I just have to make sure that I don't do any mistakes until I reach the exam center. So yeah, voila. I finally came to the exam center. He gave me feedback. I did small mistakes, like, yeah, he was telling me over the roundabout I waited too long. But the thing is, I know that I can enter the roundabout, but sometimes the examiner's like, you entered too early, and then he was like, you were waiting too long, like you were too defensive while driving. So there could be, based on examiner, I think they don't like it when you're too defensive. They don't like it when you're not too defensive. So I don't know how they find the middle ground. Now it depends on the examiner whether they can give this as a remark or let it go. So he said those small mistakes were there, but I'm putting a blind eye on it, and congratulations, you passed your exam. And I was very happy that day that I finally was done with this thing.